Hey everybody, I'm going to make this video for YouTube, of course, but also for the people that I'm having a conversation with on Theblaze. I'm getting a lot of questions like, how are you coming to this conclusion? Why are you coming to this conclusion? Why are you telling us this? And it's very simple. When I come to me studying eschatology or the end times, what I did was, and I've not heard of a lot of people do this, but I read the last book in the Bible, Revelation, the finishing, the conclusion, and I started reading the books in a backwards order. I wanted to start with the finish and end with the beginning. Because when you look at the Old Testament and the New Testament, what you end up with is the New Testament is in the Old Testament concealed, and the Old Testament is in the New Testament revealed. The prophecies you find in the Old Testament are coming to pass in Jesus' time, and they'll be coming to pass in our time. The whole book is one book, and it's all interwoven with prophecy. If you look at the book of Revelation first to see what happens at the ending, and then you go step backwards to see how they got to that process by taking a step backwards and reading and understanding what you're reading. And doing this with a Hebraic understanding of the first century Jews, their customs, their practices, because that all translates into idioms, phraseology, word usage in the Bible. And if you don't understand that, you're going to read over common phrases that everyone that's a Jew would say, and then they would know instantly what they were talking about, while we in the Western world would have no clue. It's like that phrase that I brought up in the conversation, no one knows the day or the hour, except for the Father. That's a common wedding phrase. When the bridegroom is asked by a stranger, when's the wedding? And his reply is, no one knows that day or the hour until the Father, reveals it. Because the bridegroom has to go back to the Father's house to prepare a room for his bridegroom. And he is not allowed to go get the bridegroom until his Father gives his approval for that room being prepared, that it's ready for the bridegroom. And that is the whole crux of John chapter 14, verses 1 to 3. Christ left here, went to his Father's house, is preparing a room for us right now, and he's going to come back and get us and take us back there. We're not going to stay here. The last trump, the Feast of Trumpets, is the coronation of the King and is the wedding day of Jesus. It has to fall on that feast day. I don't know when the rapture will be to bring us to that time frame, but the wedding takes place at that feast day. So if it takes place on that feast day, and it's called the Feast of Trumpets, people are trying to say the last trump in Revelation, the seventh trump, is when the church is raptured. But that's not it. That's not the trump that's being spoken of. On the Feast of Trumpets, there's 100 trumpets blown. There's 3 different types. And the one that is called, it's 100 trumpets. And the last one is called the last trump. So when you hear the Bible talking about at the last trump, it's talking about that feast day. It's not talking about the 7th trump of judgment. So if you don't know these Hebraic understandings, I'm not talking about the language, I'm talking about the incorporation of the language. What do the phrases mean? What idioms do they have? What slang do they have? Now, people are having trouble with me, with my knowledge of this, telling them, don't raise arms against your government. Because as Young's literal translation states, it's talking about God putting into power these governments. It's for his purpose. He'll raise up a country for his purpose. He'll destroy a country for his purpose. He raised up the Babylonians and the Assyrians against Israel, his own people. People that are the apple of his eye, as punishment to them. He raised up this country way back in the beginning, knowing that when we were at our strength, we would be a boon, a blessing to the nation of Israel, and we would help them. Well, we've gone past that now, and we're now actually been involved with for decades dividing the land of Israel. And the Bible is more than clear about what God's going to do to every country that does that. He's going to bring them to the valley of judgment. This country is already turning its back on Israel. This country will be in that valley attacking Israel. We as Christians, knowing these future things, by reading the book of Revelation first and working my way back, I know what's going to happen. It's been all spelled out for me step by step. I'm telling you, don't take up arms against your country, because we are not of the physical fight. Our weapons are not guns and knives and swords. Our weapon is the Word, the Scriptures, over there on my stand. That is our two-edged sword. That is our weapon. By doing that, we defeat Satan. By making converts, by making disciples, by giving the gospel. Chapter 15, 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 1 through 4. We are taking away souls that are damned by having them believe. By doing that, these souls are going to leave this earth at the rapture, and then the world is going to go into sheer utter chaos, because an Antichrist cannot just show up and say, "It's me, let's go." The world will laugh at him and call him stupid. This world has to be in chaos. And right now, you are seeing literally earthquakes of magnitude 6 or higher going off daily, worldwide. Daily. You are watching the escalation of Ukraine right now, which is the pre-steps to Psalm 38. The country to the extreme north comes down to Israel. It's going to be coming through these countries. Now, it's taking steps to take over these countries one by one. It's controlling the oil, the natural gas. The world's going to try and punish them for natural gas. So Israel is going to fulfill that role, at least for Europe. That's a huge part of the Russian economy. They're going to have to come get Israel to get their natural gas, and of course they're going to be defeated. We're seeing Isaiah 17 and 19. It's all playing out right now. All the stuff is converging on this one singular point in time in history. This country cannot be saved. The Constitution is a piece of paper with men's names on it. That's it. It's not the ultimate law of this land. God is the ruler of this earth. Jesus died for this earth. If you don't know him, you're already condemned. To know him, you step out of that condemnation. You don't become an Israelite. You become adopted into God's family. You become a bride of Christ. The wedding language is all throughout the Bible. As for the rapture, if I didn't believe in the rapture, I'd be saying, okay, now, this government, dirty bastards, I'm going to take you out. I'm going to come get you guys. Because I would be thinking, okay, I got to do something somehow to try to stop this madness that the government's doing. But knowing what I know through the study of eschatology, the end times, I know this country is already going to be destroyed, because it already has reached that point where it divided the land of Israel. Judgment is passed. It's going to happen. There's no saving this country. No constitution can do anything about it. No amount of firearms that you shoot at the government can do anything about it. In fact, you would be giving them the excuse to take their superior firepower and wipe all you guys out and just take it anyway, which is probably what's going to happen. And you know, let's say it's not a firearms fight that happens, which I still believe it is. We have the Yellowstone right now with earthquakes going on underneath it. It's bulging. We have earthquakes up and down the west coast. We have earthquakes along the new San Andreas Fault over on the east coast. We could have the Yellowstone go off, and we would be instantaneously removed from power. If we have a civil war, we're removed from power. If you guys, let's say, nobody does nothing, we're still going to be removed from power. The socialists, not the socialists, the Satanists, the people, you know, if you don't worship God, if you don't believe upon Christ, you are already automatically a tool of Satan. You're already condemned. If you're a believer, you step out of this world, you read Ephesians 6, you learn about the armor of faith, you learn about your one offensive weapon, the scriptures, the word, and you preach the gospel. That's the most effective thing you can do, because at that rapture, the Christian church, the real Christians, we're gone. And then this world is going to descend into utter chaos. And God, through that 7-year period known as the time of Jacob's trouble, Daniel's 70th week, 7-year tribulation. It's all designed to put such force to bear on Israel that they're going to have their backs put into the corner, that they're going to have to look and call upon the name of the Lord to save them. And that's when the atonement happens. At the end of the 7-year tribulation, they will call upon the Lord. Pow! He comes back. He kills everybody opposing him. He takes over this world. He rules. There's no voting. There's no democratic process. There's no republic. He is going to rule by fiat as Lord of Lords and King of Kings. And anybody who tries to get in his way when he comes back, he's done. He's going to wipe him out. It's just that simple. He will rule for 1,000 years from the throne of David. Satan will have been imprisoned in the bottomless pit for 1,000 years. He's going to be out for a little while. Satan's going to go out and do the same thing he does now, tell his lies. Vast majority of the world once again is going to come against God and Jesus, and he's just going to wipe them out. We're only at the end stage of this dispensation, this church age. This country is going to turn against Israel. This country has murdered 55 million babies in the womb. This country has become more occultic instead of Christian. The emergent church, the apostate Protestant, the Catholic Church, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, SDA, they're all cults. They are not Christianity. This nation is already doomed. The Constitution can't save it. You people taking up firearms can't save it. It's going in one direction and one direction only. And it's going to be taken to the valley of judgment and destroyed. Look at this past winter we've had. Storm after storm after storm. That's going to continue. It's going to get worse. God, through his direct judgment for the world denying Christ, is going to kill 2/3 of this population. Through the 7 seals, through the 7 trumpets, and through the 7 bowls. And I want to tell you, God is in perfect control. He has brought this government to power for his express purpose. He's going to use it and he's going to crush it. It's already turned its back on God. We all know that. It's turned its back on Israel. It's dividing Israel's land. God's going to destroy this country. Now, having said that, knowing that, my job as a Christian is not to fight for the Constitution in some vain hope that America is going to rise up with all its firearms and take over the government. It's not going to happen. My being a Christian, I know my duty. I am to be a disciple. I am to make disciples. I am to go out there, give the gospel, and get as many people believing upon Jesus Christ, planting those seeds everywhere I can, in any shape or form manner that I can, so that when the rapture happens, but the Spirit has removed those believers from this world. What good would it do me to talk 30 people into taking up arms against the government that's put in place by God, taking a direct stand against God, and they're dying? What will be my reward then? Nothing. I probably won't even get to heaven if I did that. It is not Satan giving his followers power to overcome this world, or overcome the elect, the Hebrews. It is Jesus Christ breaking the first seal that releases the Antichrist. Without Jesus breaking that first seal, there is no Antichrist. Satan does not have power or authority over the Christian church. Only God has that. Now, these people that are following the Antichrist, the Antichrist beast, whoever, if Satan indwells him, is going to be given authority to go after the elect. Now, one portion of the elect is going to see the Antichrist walk into the newly rebuilt temple and profane God, claim to be God, do the abomination of desolation. The Jews will see that, recognize it, and will flee. Now, those will be protected in some area in the wild by God. The rest are going to be pushed by God with Satan as his tool, putting their backs in the corner to fulfill that 70th week of Daniel, to put an end to sin, and they'll have to call upon the name of the Lord. Boom, he returns. That's the atonement. That's the 6th feast day of atonement. The 7th feast day is Tabernacles of Booths, where he resides with his people in Jerusalem on the throne of David for 1,000 years. This is complex, but if you would, I highly recommend all of you start at the back of the Bible. Start reading back. See what happens. Know the results of what's been going on for 2,000 years. And you will have a better, clearer understanding. Don't turn anything into metaphor. Don't turn anything to allegory. Yes, there is metaphor and allegory in the Bible, but where it is at, it is also marked out. All right, help us helps. Don't know if it did or not, but we'll see. Bye.